Good morning. This is Lieutenant McDonald. I hope everyone's doing well. I know these are kind of unique circumstances, but I truly hope that all of the soldiers and your families are in good health and staying safe. We're going to go through a brief this morning. This should have been one of the first briefs of annual training, but instead we're going to be doing it here. And it's identifying components of a dispersing office. The terminal learning objective is to identify components of the dispersing office. In a classroom environment, individual or as a member of a small group using doctrinal administrative publications, there will be a practical exercise at the end of this that you'll have to turn into your section leaders. The first thing we're going to look at is DFAS centers. DFAS falls under Department of Defense. There's a Navy, Army, and DLA section with field sites underneath. The DFAS Center responsibilities are to provide guidance to their field sites, accounting, treasury reporting, controlling finance, and central payroll functions. The field sites provide finance and accounting services at installation levels. I'm sure you guys mostly see DFAS in looking at your LESs and also annually when you receive your tax statements. But some of the functions that DFAS does: active reserve pay, travel pay, invoices, state taxes, allotments, payments, voucher controls, and financial reports. At our level, we don't see DFAS too much. However, we do make deposits into the Treasury if you're ever in a deployed environment working in a dispersing office. Here is their organizational structure. Check on learning. Where is the Army DFAS field site? And that is in DFAS, Indy. 3 responsibilities of the field site dispersing division is checks and EFT payments, commercial invoices, process returns and undeliverable checks, voucher controls, and financial reports. The field site's responsibility is to provide finance and accounting services at the installation level. Again, you're not going to see this a whole lot at our detachment level. However, it is something you should be familiar with. Next is the garrison dispersing division functions, which are payments, collections, securing funds, and financial reports. Cash functions to maintain cash requirements. When you are in a deployed environment, there will be a cash holding authority, and you need to make sure that you are within that cash holding authority, not over it, and not so far under it that you can't meet your obligations. Daily deposits, all money has to be deposited back to the Treasury every day. Properly certified vouchers, that is where we'll work with CVS to, once they process a voucher, we actually are dispersing out the money. Collections, those can be savings deposit programs or payments. There's several different types of collections that come through a dispersing office. Verifying funds and vouchers daily. The verifying funds is making sure that the vault count is accurate and that is an inspectable item, that there will be unannounced vault counts. Also, as a cashier, it's your responsibility to make sure that all money that you have been assigned for is returned at the end of every day, because you are pecuniary liable for those funds. The 2657 and advance and receive funds with agents. Those are your pay agents, which are people that'll come from other locations with supporting documentation to draw funds out of the dispersing office, and then they'll go spend those funds on the mission that's required, and then they'll come back for clearance. This are check functions. You will not really see as many checks in theater anymore due to Eagle Cash, and then some of the advances in technology have allowed for vault transfers or payments without actually using checks. So I'm not going to get into this a whole ton, but just be aware that in a dispersing office, you may see checks, and these are some of the functions that we have for those checks. And then the account functions, the depository bank statements. Overseas, you will have what's called an LDA. It's a limited depository account. It's how the FMSU can deposit money back to the detachments without physically being there. When we were overseas in Qatar, we had a bank that we would make a bank run to every 6 weeks, and we would draw money out to support our transactions every day. Check on learning. What are the 4 basic functions? Make payments, receive collections, secure funds, and maintain, prepare records and reports. How many functions are in the dispersing division? 3, cash, checks, and accounts. Which function prepares the check issue list? The cash function. Which function prepares and reconciles the statement of accountability? And that's the accounts function. Next, we're going to talk about dispersing duty positions. Overseas, you're going to have the dispersing officer, the deputy dispersing officer, the dispersing agent, cashier, and pay agents. The dispersing officer is typically going to be the FMSU commander. The deputy dispersing officer is going to be located at the FMSU, and it's usually going to be a senior first lieutenant or a captain. The dispersing agents are located in all of the sites throughout theater. So here's a little visual that I put together. You'll see the FMSU all the way over here. Right now our FMSU is in Kuwait, and then there'll be locations all throughout, maybe Jordan, in Qatar, Afghanistan, Iraq, wherever it may be. But the FMSU is located in one country with the FMSDs spread throughout theater. Again, the DO is going to be the FMSU commander. He will have an XO, and then he'll also have a DDO. So the DO will sign all of his vaults over to the DDO, and the DDO will issue funds to the DA at each detachment. The DDO is also going to have a dispersing manager, who's usually going to be a senior NCO, and cashiers located at the FMSU level. So when I was over in Qatar, we fell under the FMSU in Kuwait. I was the DA. I had a dispersing manager and cashiers. You'll see that there's airplanes next to each detachment level, and those are to show the FMST missions. So those are FMSTs are teams that will go out to areas that don't have a finance office. They'll conduct finance operations, and then they'll return to the FMSD to collect all the transactions and clear out. So for example, every month we had 1 or 2 cashiers had to go out to Camp Red Leg, take in some savings deposit programs, and do some currency transactions, and then they would come back and resume working at the FMSD level. So the dispersing officer, that FMSU commander, is generally going to be an officer. Sometimes it will be a senior enlisted for a smaller DSSN. It can be a civilian employee, and they account for all public funds, particular DSSN. It's usually going to be a major, or sometimes will be a senior captain. The DDO is appointed by the dispersing officer. Again, they're at the FMSU level, and they may be an officer, senior enlisted, and they act in the name and for the DO in all acts relating to accounting and public funds. Dispersing agent, it's an agent to the DO, maybe an officer, enlisted soldier, or it could be an employee, a civilian employee as well. This one note right here I do want to highlight. usually operates at a disbursing office geographically separated from the DO. Right now, the 113th is located in Kuwait. They are on ground with the FMSU. So they have the FMSU and the FMSD located on the same base. However, they're servicing different areas of the base. Pay agent. Pay agents are appointed by their unit. They're not finance MOS people. They're appointed by their unit to conduct financial transactions. However, they're not finance and they do not belong to finance units. They'll come into the office. Like I said, they'll have forms, they'll have documentation showing how much money they're required to draw and what the money is for. They'll go back to whatever base they came from or whatever country they came from, spend the money, and then they'll bring it back. A lot of times they'll be representing austere locations where a base is just getting stood up and they need money for supplies and they need to buy it on the local economy. So they'll fly into a location with a finance office to take that money out. A cashier is an agent to the DO or the DA who disperses, collects, and accounts for cash. So pretty much the cashier is the person doing the actual transactions. If you go to a bank, the person standing behind the customer service that is making your deposits, giving you money, same thing as in a dispersing office. They must have unquestionable integrity. Cashiers are going to be handling cash every day. They're going to be issued a large vault in the morning. They're going to conduct transactions all day. And at the end of the day, they're going to clear that vault. Because of that, we do run a background check on anyone that's going to be a cashier. And cashiers are pecuniary liable for any funds that might go missing at the end of the day. DDS is the deployable dispersing system. This is our information database that we use to enter all of the transactions. Great thing about DDS is anyone who's been through AIT or through BOLIC or through any introduction to finance class, everything you do is manual and you spend hours calculating dollars and subtracting and knowing what needs to go into each field. When you're in theater or when you're doing this real time, DDS takes care of all of that for you. I do want to talk about this last note that it could be a standalone process. DDS can be worked offline, and what you do at the end is just create a file transfer and plug it into the network system, and all of those transactions are accounted for. its.gov. Not a whole lot that you need to know about it. It is our payment and collection system where I said earlier we're not really doing checks so much anymore. That has all been replaced by its.gov. For the level of this class, just know that it's another option to conduct payments. And it's also a method of tracking any treasury deposits that are made out of the finance office to make sure that all the money was deposited and accounted for correctly. CashLink, system to verify bank deposits, and simplifies and shortens the reconciliation process. Same way as if you make a deposit on your bank account, if you use your bank app and you want to check the next day and make sure that it cleared, that's pretty much what CashLink is going to do. GFIBs, I know everyone's been through all of their GFIBs training as part of their FM certification, but GFIBs records all accounting transactions for vouchers and is used to help reconcile all obligations and disbursements. So this one just gives us the answers right up front, I guess. Disbursing officer is responsible for accounting of funds. The deputy disbursing officer acts in the name for the disbursing officer. Again, that's usually going to be a lieutenant or captain at the FMSU level who's acting on behalf of his commander. And then again, they're going to touch upon this unquestionable integrity that a cashier must possess because they are the ones that are handling customers' funds every day, as well as PII on the clients. Our disbursing system is DDS, and it was designed to automate Okona's disbursing office operations. Again, all of that stuff that you're used to hand jamming and calculating in the training entry classes are all done automatically on DDS. ITS Gov is used to process EFT payments, and CashLink is used to verify bank deposits. All right, if you look back at your training aid, there is a link to the practical exercise that coincides with these courses. But if you have any additional questions, please reach out to me. Sergeant Murray was the dispersing manager while I was overseas, so reach out to Sergeant Murray. Specialist Johnson, Specialist White, Sergeant Boger all have experience, recent experience in the dispersing cell. Specialist Garcia as well. So thank you all for your time, and please let us know if you have any questions.